Tonight I'm going to install a fuse block in my Sport. I actually got this idea from one of the guys on the forum. Josh had installed one on his. I've already got a power distribution set up in mine underneath the back seat, but I like his a lot better, so in all honesty I'm just going to steal it and I'm going to install it in mine. One thing I am doing different than what he did is he just had a fuse block. The one I'm using actually has a ground plate on it, so I'm going to pull power and ground up to the front, mounted on the firewall or the front bulkhead. So I'll have all that right there. Alright, I'm going to get started by pulling the steering wheel off. See lots of stuff on the forums about how hard these steering wheels are to get off. I've never had mine off, so I guess we'll find out. Center cover should just pop right off with a flathead screwdriver. It's a castellated nut with some kind of spring clip holding it in. Pull that out. The nut is 24 millimeter and not very tight. Alright, here's the part everybody has trouble with. Actually getting the steering wheel off. I'm not even going to try and jerk it off. We're just going to go with the use a bigger hammer method. Worked. Okay, now that we've got the dreaded steering wheel off, pull the hinges off, or actually the latches off. It's a T30. Also a couple of bolts on the side. These are also 230s. Looks like nothing underneath as far as screws. After you have all the bolts out, there's these, I don't know what you want to call them, these automotive style push thingies. They just pry out. I got this tool from Harbor Freight in a kit for like, it looks like it's made in China, for like $5 or something. Anyway, it's designed to pop these out. It works really, really good. If you do lose some or break some of those, you can get more of them at Lowe's. Okay, there's 4 more of those same style connectors that were on the top, on the bottom. Unless you're mine, there's only 3. Should be 2 over here, 2 over there. Last thing before you can actually lay the dash over, got to pull the pivot bolt out of the steering, adjustable steering, tilt steering. So it's a 4mm Allen wrench and a number 10 wrench for the backup. Drops out. And now, in theory, we should be able to pull the dash back. like magic. I know the shot's kind of a weird angle, but basically the dash has been laid over and all the switches and the gauge and all that on the front have got connectors on the back that you can unplug. Once you get all these unplugged, then you can just pull the entire dash out of your way. I'm sure all that worked out really well. 12-volt plug is just 2 wires. Pull that off. Be careful with those because they are constant hot. So if they touch something, they're going to make a spark. Now that we have all the gauges and the connectors and the plugs and all that disconnected, should be able to just take the dash completely out. Or at least on paper it should go. I'm going to give you my thought process on why I'm choosing to put the fuse block where I'm going to put it. Original plan was to put it on the passenger side, which is what we're looking at here, somewhere up out of the way. The problem I have is this area right here, which is where would be an optimal place for it. You can't kick it, you can't get, it's accessible from underneath, but your average rider is not going to get their feet up into it. I've got plans to have something else mounted there later on, so I can't put it there. So I, thought, well, put it over here on the right-hand side, kind of on this tub part of the tub right there. Problem I got there is if you look at all the dirty marks, all the scuff marks, obviously my rider's feet are getting this high, which means they're going to be kicking the fuse block. If I go over here to the driver's side, I got the same area. Got the same area of the tub. It's basically the driver's side fender wall. I could take the block and mount it, I don't know, somewhere in there like that, and I won't be kicking it, and it'll be more or less out of the way. Okay, after much debate, I've decided I'm gonna put it on the driver's side, high up on the fender wall. So this is the fuse block again. I picked this up off eBay because it was a little bit cheaper, like 20 bucks shipped. You can get them at O'Reilly's actually, believe it or not. The O'Reilly part number is an FB90, so Frank Bravo 90. It's a 10 gang box, so you got 10 fused outputs, power comes in there. What's cool about this one is it's got a ground plane on it, so you don't have to go to the chassis or take your wires back to the battery or whatever. Bring one wire for the battery, hook it up right here, and you got everything right in one spot. I'm gonna put mine fairly high up on the firewall here. It's about, I don't know, a ½ inch off the top bend on the firewall. Should be out of the way. Yep, I think that'll work. It's got 4 holes. I'm just gonna poke it with an awl, so I've got my mounting locations. And all I gotta do is drill it. All right, so we'll drill the holes. I'm using number 8 stainless hardware with aircraft nuts and an appropriate bit size. I have no idea what size it is because it's all rusted up. But we're just going to go with whatever bit works for number 8 that I'm using. Alright, here's what it looks like installed. The bolts I got were too short, so I ended up throwing some longer bolts in there. I'll change them out tomorrow. In all reality, you probably could just do this bolt and this bolt, just some bolts, you know, on either corner. It was rock solid with the two. I ended up doing 4 just because I'd already drilled the holes. And here's what it looks like on the underside. Like I said, I got to change these screws out tomorrow to these are not stainless, but I'll change them out to I bought 5/8 and it ended up being a little short, so 3/4 is what I'll pick up tomorrow. Next thing is to pull the bus to it. Pull the 12 volts and the ground and get those hooked up. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is get access to the battery. The battery's under here. Probably the easiest way to do it is to pull the drive shaft tunnel up. You can pull just the 2 battery screws, cover screws, which is this one and this one, and then pull this screw off right here. And you can kind of muscle it out, but I've got to run the wires. Originally I'd planned on running the wires on the passenger side. Now they're going to run over here on the driver's side, so it'll be easier for me to just take the tunnel out anyway. There's 2 of these automotive style clips that hold the drive shaft tunnel to the rear panel. There's one here, one here. I've already got that one removed because I was doing some other stuff the other day. Put this one back in just to kind of show you where it's at. They're a pain in the butt the first few times you mess with them. You get kind of used to them. You can actually buy a tool it's designed to remove these. I just take a flat screwdriver and pry it up, and then take a pair of needle nose and pull the inner pin up, and it'll just come out. Once you've got that up, you need to take the gear shifter lever off. That is a 14 wrench with a jam nut, and then it'll just spin off. Four bolts to pull the transmission or the drive shaft tunnel up. T30s. These are different lengths, so pay attention to where they come out. If memory serves, the long one was there on mine. So once you get these 4 out, this comes up. You can work it around the nut on the shifter. You got your override switch and in my case I've got my winch in and out mounted there as well. They just unplug from the back side. You can slide it all the way off. Now to finish getting access to the battery, got one more T30. That was a long one as well. Panel kind of slides back. Then you just pull it up. Now you've got access to your battery terminals, and I've already got other wiring and stuff in here for some stuff that I already had added. But basically, I'm going to run my wires from my power and my ground across here, then up the rocker panel, and up to my fuse box. Okay, I've got it completely installed, wired up. This is where it ended up. I've got to change out, like I said, I got to change the screws out tomorrow. And this screw right here, which ended up being kind of long, I don't want to chafe this power wire. So I'll probably end up putting an acorn nut on that. But basically, so I ran the wires just down this panel right here, and then across the rocker, and then across the frame rail, and then where I did something a little bit different than what I had talked about, I'd said, you know, hook them up to the battery. I already had this terminal block right here for basically a distribution block, so that I didn't have to tie a bunch of stuff to the battery terminals and constantly take the leads off and on the battery and stress the screws and all that kind of stuff. So I just ran some big gauge wire, 8 gauge wire, I think, might even be 6. Just a couple of short runs over to this distribution block. I got a couple of power leads, terminals here, ground terminals here, and this is where I landed the fuse block. Okay, I'm going to call the installation basically complete. I've still got a ton of stuff to do. I've got a lot of accessories I'm going to wire up. I'm going to add, then I'm going to rewire some of the accessories that I already had in there that were running off, you know, the switch 12 volts. So I'm not going to put anything back together now, but basically to finish up, all you would do is reverse, you know, you install the drive shaft tunnel, put the battery cover back on, install the drive shaft tunnel, put your dash back on, plug it, make sure everything's plugged back up before you button the dash back up, and you're finished. I've probably got $20 in the fuse block. Maybe I've got $20 in the wire, the terminal connectors and all that. I got $40 in the project, and I think it's pretty clean. Happy with the way it turned out.